Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am back with a card, which I really enjoyed making again. I have two colours of grey cardstock here. They are both from Simon Says Stamp, and the lighter grey one was smoke and the darker grey is slate. And I am running it through my die cutting machine with the stripes die. All these little pieces come out nice and easy in between, and I will save them because you never know what they could be good for. And then right out of the middle of this piece here, I'm going to use my largest oval die out of the set, and both of these dies so far are from Aliexpress, so I will add all of these links below. And I'm going to die cut the oval right out of the center. So it does leave some of the stripes to be quite fragile, but that's okay. It'll end up being just fine. And so this has created a bit of a focal centerpiece for our card. So far, so good. From here, I have a couple of mixing die sets. The flowers are one set from somewhere, and the leaves are from my very favorite flower set ever, which I have used plenty of times in my cards. So I'm just mix and matching die sets here. You can use any flowers and any leaves that you have at all. And I have just die cut these out of vellum, and I ended up doing it a couple of times each. So I think I had 6 flowers in the end and 4 leaves. And kind of the heavier weight vellum, the better that you can get, just so they hold up a little bit better. Then I'm running it through with the smoke cardstock, and in the end I actually end up changing this, but for now that's okay. And so I do the same. I make sure that I've got 6 of these little flowers because they are going to be the backing. I didn't have the right green that I thought I wanted, so I'm just having a scrap piece of white cardstock, and I'm using some Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just doing it straight to the paper, direct to paper, and this is what I'm running through my leaves with. And then I have this Versamarker embossing pen here. This is kind of just the same as your embossing ink that you might have in an ink pad, but it's in a pen form, and this one is from scrapbook.com, I think. And I am just going around the outside of the leaves, and then using the finer nib of the embossing pen, I am just adding in some little details into the flower. Absolutely nothing special, quick as can be. This is some silver embossing powder. This one happens to be from Ranger. I just grab whichever one I like the color of, and there you can see the details come up of where I put the embossing pen. So I've just gone round the outside to give the vellum a little bit of detail. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing to all of the flowers. And then with the leaves, I am just going to, using the finer side of the pen, there's kind of a brush side and then a bullet tip end. I am just going to draw a main vein down the middle and then some smaller veins coming off that. I just wanted to say thank you guys for hanging with me over the last couple of weeks. I know I have been posting less videos. I have had my little baby boy, and he is almost 2 weeks old now. So we are just getting into a new routine as a family of 4. So thank you so much for just waiting patiently for new videos. Life is busy. So from here, I am just going to use my heat gun to melt the vellum. You do have to be super quick with vellum because it is obviously plastic and you don't want to melt it, you just want to melt the embossing powder. So quick is key, and moving the heat gun around a lot and often. Now I have another piece of the slate cardstock, and I just cut off, I think, 1/8 of an inch off each side, just so I have a teeny tiny border around the outside. And then adding some adhesive to the back and doing my little trick of just peeling off a corner of each one. I do this in most of my videos just so that I can line it up evenly and then pull out each one of those little straps. I've done it nice and fast. I'm sure there's other videos that you can go and see it on as well if it's too fast for you to see what I'm doing. And then this bit was a little bit tricky, but not too bad. So I have these little adhesive pads that are from Aliexpress. I will link them below, and I find them really good for cutting out shapes that are a bit unusual or that are a bit different. So they come as little rectangles, but in this case I am going to cut them up and use them to go on the back of those stripes. As I said, they have become a slightly fragile now that I cut the center out of them with the oval die. So now I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of all of them to A, give them some dimension, and B, make sure they've got plenty of stability behind them. So these are from the sticky adhesive pads, which have adhesive on both sides, are from Aliexpress, so I will link them below. And I also need to add a sentiment to this one, and I needed this card in particular that said a thinking of you, a bit of a sympathy card for someone who is just having a tough time with lots of things at the moment. So I am using this little stamp set, which is from Aliexpress, and I'll link it below. And I've just cut out a banner shape out of the lighter coloured cardstock, the smoke colour. And I'm sorry that I'm off screen for some of this. I'm just getting back into the swing of filming. So I've just stamped it on there. Here's the stamp set, and I've used the Thinking of You stamp. This one is one I got ages ago, and I still reach for it often, so I really like it. And I've just adhered the banner kind of about halfway up. And again, sorry, this is slightly off camera. I was just trying to get it equally spaced around the side, so I was trying to get a good view. So I really like the dimension that it gives, and I really like the oval out of the middle. So here's where I said I have actually changed my mind, and I ended up, because this is for a female, I ended up using the pink flowers behind this. Now, my original plan obviously was to kind of make it a greys card, and so I had die cut all of these grey flowers, and they do look just as cool. So I would happily make this card again and use the grey flowers, but for this one I am going to use the pink flowers. So I need to line up where the vellum goes so that the flower looks right. So you can see it takes me a couple of times. And then from here I am just going to add a little bit of tape over the back of that centerpiece. I don't want that falling out because I have taken it out of the vellum flowers and I want it to stay in there so that I can add some Nouveau drops to the center of the flowers later. I'm just adding a little bit of glue down the bottom of the leaves, and then I am going to put the vellum leaf over top. And you will be able to see this adhesive, so anywhere you put adhesive you need to kind of plan to hide it somehow, because you can see it creates kind of a darker green spot through the vellum. So I'm just gluing together all of my leaves and then gluing together all of my flowers. And I haven't quite got an arrangement sorted yet, but I have an idea in my mind about how I want them laid out. So with the flowers, I'm just putting a little circle of glue around the center of the flower and then putting them together. As I said, I'm sorry again for going off screen. I truly am going to get better at that again. So with just using a little bit of adhesive around the center of the flower, it really does give the vellum gives the flower some really nice dimension on the leaves, and you could most certainly curl it up, or you could add more layers to your flowers and kind of offset them in between. That would look really cool too. So there are lots of different options, and as I said, any flowers, there are so many flower sets available, so any flowers at all would work really well. As I said, there's a little bit of tape on the back of these to tape in the center pink piece so that it doesn't fall out. So actually when I end up adhering these, I use a mixture of some liquid glue, which is the multi-matte medium in this little squeezy bottle that you might see here. So I am taking off that little backing paper and adding the liquid glue just so that I know for sure that they won't be coming off. And I kind of just squirt the liquid glue in the sides and things, and it's really good for the leaves as well. So as I said, I use the pink on this card for a slightly more feminine touch, and you could maybe mix up the colors that you use using pinks and reds or oranges and yellows. This is a nice versatile card that you could use any colors, and it would definitely be suitable for a slightly more non-gender specific card if you use the greys, so that would look really nice too. So I'm just using some liquid adhesive and kind of tucking in all of the leaves, and sometimes I had to cut off a little bit so that they would tuck in a little bit nicer when they ran into things underneath them. And then just moving the vellum so that it kind of curling the vellum so it flicks up a little bit and gives some nice dimension on the card. So just doing some final touches, and I really like this card, I must say. I think I'm going to go back and make some more of these ones. I really like how it turned out, and I was going to adhere down the sentiment strip. However, I just liked it kind of sitting up there. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time with my next card or my next project. Thanks so much. See ya. Bye.